There's just never enough time, is there? One of the questions I've been getting asked quite frequently over the past few months is how I'm able to get videos out every single day. And I think people were already kind of impressed by it in the first place just because of the amount of effort it takes to get the work out. But then if I mention that I have kids and a job, it kind of freaks them out even more. So I actually thought it would be kind of fun to just give everybody an answer through this video of how I went from having not enough time to complete a video a week to now just being comfortable with uploading daily. And I'll tell you this from now, this is more of just me sharing my own personal journey and less about some type of motivational instruction of how you could reach this point too yourself if you really put your mind to it. Because at the end of the day, I realize that everybody has their own priorities and their own schedules, as well as their own mental and physical capacities. Now, for a quick background, I've been doing the whole YouTube thing for about 4 years now. At the start of all this, I had virtually no knowledge on how to edit audio or video for that matter. I would say that I am still very much an amateur, but I know the basics enough to get something that can be perceived as high quality content. Or maybe high quality might be selling it a little too high. Average quality content. I don't know exactly how long it used to take me to make a full 10-minute video, for example, but I would say it probably took me about a year's worth of videos in order to get to the point where I maybe cut that time in half. And realistically speaking, it wasn't until the start of 2024 until I got to a point where I kind of capped off on how much more efficient I could get when it comes to my own skills in editing. Now, mind you, that might sound like a long time considering I started this channel in like April of 2021. But throughout all of that time, I was just uploading videos once every few months. Whenever I had a minute, I'd get 2 or 3 out, and then that was it. There were sometimes breaks between videos upwards of 6 months. But last year, right around May, that's when I started uploading weekly. And I was able to get a video out from the start of May until the end of 2024 weekly without missing a single Saturday. During that time, I learned how to become a little bit more efficient. And I was also able to figure out when it was okay to make shortcuts in the type of content that I was putting out. Now, mind you, I was making long Sonic videos at the time. Like, we're talking 1 or 2 hours per game. And that's largely because I would go pretty in-depth into the actual story and the actual experience of the title itself. So initially, when I would write my scripts, I would kind of write it as if I was making an essay. I'd break it up into different segments. Over here, I'll talk about the gameplay. Over here, I'll talk about the mechanics. Over here, I'll talk about the story. What I found was while I would make the videos on that script, first, I realized that I would miss a lot of talking points that I just forgot to put in there, and I wouldn't realize it until it was way too late. But second, when I would mention something very specific, I'd find myself really having to jump through the footage to figure out exactly where that point in time in the game was. I'd try to segment my playthroughs so that I'd be able to access them, but it wasn't always that easy. At some point along the playthroughs, I realized that if I just wrote my script while rewatching my footage, I'd not only be able to remember everything that I wanted to say, but I would also be able to go through my retrospectives as I experienced the game in chronological order from start to end. So if something worth discussing popped up in level 3, I'd be able to go off on a tangent and discuss why that was relevant. That way I wouldn't be breaking up all of the mechanics at the start of the video, I would be breaking them up as I go along through the experience. And at the same time, I'd be able to go through the story beats, so that way by the time I get to the end of the video, I've discussed everything I want to talk about, I've gone through all of the mechanics and all of the levels, all of the music, and all of the story beats, so I'd be able to conclude with the boss fight and the end of the game, allowing you to have a finale. And it seemed like it was working really well. Mind you, at this time last year, I was at 1,000 subs. I was getting 100 or 200 views a video, and I was only uploading weekly. By the end of my Sonic retrospective, I think I had tripled that number. Which, I mean, if you're a YouTuber, you know how hard it is to go from 1,000 to 3,000 subs. And that's with just posting one video a week from the start of May until the end of June. And since people were liking it, I just kept doing that. So I'd be able to play through the entire game. I'd have a 10 to 15 minute introductory portion where I talk more or less about the popularity of the title when it launched and how that has changed over time. And then I would just basically recount the entire game and going on tangents where necessary. It even got to the point where I was just using the in-game audio for a while. Sonic fans really like their Sonic music, so I figured why bother messing around with it? I'll just let the background audio play and that was good enough. And then after that I jumped to Mega Man and that was more or less the same idea, but the videos were a lot shorter and playing the game was a lot shorter. So now, instead of playing a game that would take me 5 to 10 hours to beat, On average, I'd be able to play a game for about 2 hours and then make a video that was 20 to 30 minutes long, because I'm not going to talk about Mega Man as long as I would talk about Sonic. There's just less to cover. Specifically when you're talking about the NES Mega Man games versus the 3D Sonic titles. And this was just more or less my rhythm up until I hit December. Now, by the time we hit December, I hadn't really moved up in subscribers. My Mega Man series didn't do anywhere near as well as my Sonic stuff did. I even broke away from the Mega Man videos and made a Metroid series. I covered the retro Star Wars titles, but still, nothing was really biting anymore. So I was feeling a little bit at a loss. I didn't care too much because this was my hobby, but if I can do my hobby and have more people viewing it and having more engagement, at least that way I feel like there's more of a back and forth. So I did want the channel to grow. You guys know this, I'm very active in my comments, so the more people to talk to about these games, the better. Up till the end of Mega Man, there was about 5 or 6 regular commenters that I would always see on every single video, and we would discuss it. I was having fun with that, but I still wanted the channel to grow. So with December coming up, I remembered that every single channel I knew would suddenly have like 25 days of anything, and they would just post a video every single day up until Christmas. So in my mind, I was like, you know what? That's a good idea. Let me do daily videos. Now, when I mentioned this to my wife, I think I kind of freaked her out. Because up until that point, I'd be able to get away with an hour and a half a day, and that would get my weekly video out. And then, on like the occasional Saturday or Sunday, if you get a 3-hour window, you can beat a lot of the game that you need to beat or work on a video. So I was kind of really scratching my head as to how I was going to play 25 different games and get them out for December. At first I was thinking, hey, maybe I'll just do games similar to Mega Man. I'll find a random Game Boy title that takes 2 or 3 hours to beat, and I'll just do 25 of those. But the problem was, I felt like if I was going to put in that much effort, it was not going to get the returns that I wanted. I felt like that was a project that I could do later when I'm a little bit more popular, so it can get more exposure and I have more people that I can talk about these games with. So then I got a crazy idea that came to me all of a sudden. What if I did one game and covered it every single day? I figured it would be a risk because nobody wanted to watch that many videos on a single game. But then I remembered that Mario 64 is my favorite game of all time, and I hadn't covered it on my channel yet. And if there's one game that you could talk about for an entire month and people would click and watch it every single day, it's probably Mario 64. And holy crap, was I right. At the time when I decided to do this, by the end of the Mario 64 series, my channel had grown in subscribers, had grown in views, likes, all of that in a much quicker way than I had ever seen before. And I associate it with 3 things. Number 1, I think there's just a natural December bump that comes from YouTube. So if anybody wants to start out on YouTube, that's when you should start. Get in the December mix, because people are at home and they're bored and they're clicking on anything. I still remember there were a bunch of people commenting saying, hey, just FYI, I've never watched this game before, but I enjoyed the video, so I watched it. And it was like a 10-minute video. So the December bump helped my channel grow. In addition to that, I was covering Mario 64, and I think a lot of people will watch anything about Mario 64, it seems. And it wasn't just that, I went and bought myself a podcast mic. That's what I'm speaking into right now. If you notice, yesterday I had actually uploaded a Mega Man compilation video. So that compilation video is actually from my Mega Man series last year. I just put the first 3 games into one video to send it out. It's a pretty common thing that YouTubers will do to repurpose some old footage and also potentially give some old videos that didn't do well another chance. Now, you might have noticed when you clicked on that video, I sounded much different, and that's largely because I was using a different microphone. So the audio was much better, the topic was very popular, the audience was definitely there because it was December, and since I was spitting out a video every single day, that was giving the algorithm more chance to spread my content. Whereas in the past, I would send out a video and I would have to wait an entire week until the next one comes out. Now it was every single day, there was a new chance for people to catch my channel and subscribe. It's kind of like in the past, I would use shorts to grow my channel. I'd post the big video on Saturday, and then I would send out a bunch of shorts, and that would hopefully catch some viewers that would eventually go to my main stuff and watch it. That was actually how I ended up going from 500 subscribers to 1,000 subscribers when Tears of the Kingdom came out. I would just post a bunch of Tears of the Kingdom Let's Play shorts. But since I was posting daily, I didn't need to throw out any shorts. And I also didn't need to make my videos 30 to 60 minutes long, which was also a benefit because now people would click on my video and they'd be like, it's 10 minutes. I can invest that time into this. And it all just worked out. I was able to get videos out daily. I would do 10 to 15 minutes and just cover a single stage in Mario 64, going through all of the stars, instead of having one video game that I would have to beat and make a video on for the span of a week. I would take that single playthrough and spread content of it throughout 3 or 4 weeks. So it was actually saving time because I didn't have to play games anymore. The only thing really taking more time was all of the production stuff, like the thumbnails I'd have to make and scheduling everything for uploads. But it did become a habit. The Mario 64 series was doing so well and I had gotten so accustomed to it that I actually decided to do Mario 64 DS. I think I took a 1 or 2 break and then just got straight into DS. By January 7th, I was finished Mario 64 and 64 DS. I had to do an ACL surgery because of a soccer injury, but that's not really relevant to the discussion, so I took 3 weeks off. And since I was bedridden during that time, I played Mario Sunshine and started working on those scripts. And then I basically just repeated it all starting from February 1st. Mario Sunshine had fewer stages, so instead of the 24 or 25 segments that I used for Mario 64 and 64 DS, for Sunshine, I only needed about 14. By the end of Mario Sunshine, I figured I'd be taking another break until I would do Galaxy, but by then, I just was kind of seeing how far I could stretch it. So I started doing daily Mario Kart 8 Deluxe videos, where each day I covered a Grand Prix, which worked out great because a Grand Prix takes minutes. So you'd play for 15 minutes and then you would make a video on it. But realistically speaking, I wouldn't just make a single video at a time. I would play it for 2 or 3 hours, make a batch of videos, and I would just schedule them out for the upcoming days. I got pretty ahead of schedule that by the end of it, I was done playing and uploading all the videos 2 weeks before all of my viewers would be seeing it. So of course, in that 2 weeks, that was the optimal time to play Mario Galaxy. Now, the thing is, when I was doing the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe series, I was taking it a lot more laid back. I stopped writing scripts. I couldn't really just freestyle it, that's still too hard for me to do to this day, but now, instead of writing things down, and then recording the entire thing, and then editing all of the audio, I would just instead basically speak what I wanted to write down, and then I could just edit the audio as needed. So now, instead of writing out a script, I'm basically doing a script audibly, which means I was able to cut out all of the script writing time. But I wasn't sacrificing the content because I was still orating a script. I was doing research as I was orating it. When I did the Mario Kart series, it seemed to have been doing well, so then I just did the exact same thing for the Mario Galaxy series, and that continued to do well as well. There were obviously a lot of shortcuts that I knew I had to take if I was able to get the content out regularly. Like, I would try to keep gameplay footage always flowing so I didn't have to frequently bring in PNGs or bring something else in from a different video. And I would do that and really keep track of the comments to get feedback. So like if I took a shortcut, I would listen to see if people would notice it and say, yo, like this is a good video, but you should change this or that. And I would take it to heart onto the next video. Basically, through a lot of back and forth between the comments and I, by the time I made it to my Mario Galaxy videos and even my Galaxy 2 videos from last month, I think I got myself to a nice equilibrium with the viewers where for the most part, people were okay with what they were seeing and I was taking enough shortcuts to make sure that remained the case. So then we got to the point where if you don't include actually playing the game, which by the way, I would have the game finished and all the footage recorded before I started my first video usually, or at least most of the footage recorded. So basically by that point, I was pretty efficiently able to get a 10 to 15, maybe even 20-minute video out in about 2 hours, maybe upwards of 4 hours, depending on what I was talking about specifically. So if, for example, the kids had a play date that day and my wife was going to take them and leave the house and I would be home alone for, I don't know, 6 or 7 hours, I could probably get 3 or 4 videos done that day and be covered for the next 3 days while I continue to finish at least 1 or 2 a day, so I can always have a little bit of wiggle room. Now, those 2 or 3 hours per video was while I was doing retrospectives. Once I started these talks, it's a whole different story. I don't have to game anymore, but I have to do a lot more research. But research can be done anywhere, no matter what you're doing. So like, you know, those 30 minutes where you scroll on your phone during a lunch break? Yeah, I'll find something to talk about and maybe take a bunch of notes on my phone. Those 30 minutes where you might scroll on your phone before you fall asleep, or you know, that downtime you have on your couch, well, I use that to research as much as I can. And in some cases, I don't need to research. So like this video, for example, it's not like I have to look anything up. I'm just speaking based off of my experience. Or sometimes I'll talk about stuff that are memories from my childhood or just random observations I've made with the gaming community. The point is that when I actually get to the table and start making these videos, you're looking at, I would say 1.5 to 2 hours of actual work, and then I'll just walk away from my desk while the video renders, or I'll spend 5 to 10 minutes working on a thumbnail, and I'll get my video out. So let's round up and say that I'm looking at roughly 2.5 hours a day where I put in an effort for my YouTube videos. That might still sound insane to a lot of you, but I also have a lot of advantages that I realize other people might not. So first of all, while I do have a full-time job, I do work from home, which is so much more beneficial from a time management perspective. You don't gotta get ready to leave the house in the morning. You don't have to worry about your lunch hour break, nothing with traffic, no commuting, all that stuff. I imagine at that point alone, people would be like, oh, that's how he does it. Right there. You can just click off the video. But I do have children, and they're really young, which means that while, yes, I do work from home, you don't get that much free time when you're home. So there is still a lot of discipline, obviously. And the thing is, I'm not trying to be one of those people that go online and tell you, oh my God, you don't realize how much time you have until you have kids and you realize you have no time. But yeah, your kids will take all of your time. I'll tell you this, I worked through most of my college life and even my later high school years. Prior to COVID, I didn't have any kids and I worked in an office like a regular human being. Through most of my college life, while I was working and juggling school, I felt like I had no time. When I got into the professional world, I was commuting over an hour a day, trying to maybe hit the gym if I didn't feel like I was exhausted. And of course, in between all that, you still want to spend time with your wife, right? Go out on a date, catch a movie, visit some friends, whatever the case may be. So obviously, given that I was working an 8-hour day, plus an hour of lunch, plus 2 hours of commuting, you're looking at 11 hours away from the house, and then you get home, and there are home responsibilities as well. It's not like you just got all this free time. So back then, I also felt like I had very little time to do anything. But now that I am a proud father, I laugh at the fact that pre-father me didn't realize how much time he had. Because nothing will make you appreciate an hour of solitude like having a child that needs your love and attention for 12 plus hours a day. And we're not including night wake-ups. So while, yes, that was insane for a while, I think it also taught me a lot of discipline about how to take advantage of my time post-bedtime. We put the kids to sleep pretty early so that we can have the evenings to ourselves. And since I don't have to wake up in the morning to commute to work, I can sleep in a little bit. So now if I'm staying up till, I don't know, 11:30, 12, 12:30, 1 a.m., it won't completely throw off my week like it used to when I was commuting to work. So at that point, it's just a matter of prioritizing what you want to do, right? I need 2 hours to work on this video. So when I started getting serious about this YouTube channel, funnily enough, one of the first things that I had to sacrifice was gaming. Outside of making content for my channel, I don't really play video games as much as you would think for somebody whose moniker is Nintendine. So if I told you that I had to YouTube for 2 hours a day, you'd be like, wow, how do you do that? That's so much time you gotta commit. But if I told you I played video games for 1 or 2 hours a day, you wouldn't think that was that insane. So naturally, that time goes towards YouTubing. And then eventually this kind of just became my habit. It became an enjoyable thing to do. Like instead of laying on the couch and just relaxing for 30 minutes, I could just put that time towards YouTube. Instead of going to bed and then going on Instagram or TikTok for 45 minutes, YouTube. But the key thing has always been that I enjoy it. I still haven't felt stressed from YouTubing. I will say I was getting close to it probably about a month or two ago, and that's largely because I was still doing the retrospectives, which I think were taking a lot more from me, and after doing it for 3 or 4 months, I was really reaching my limits. But thankfully, Nintendo gave me the worst direct I had ever seen in my life, and it gave me an avenue to talk about things that I otherwise would have never spoken about on my channel before. Like even this topic, for example. I'm talking about how I get videos out every day. I never would have done that before. Consumer apathy, corporate greed, tariffs, how evil Bowser is. Oh, well, I guess that one I kind of did cover multiple times. So yeah, to just kind of wrap things up, because I'm kind of rambling at this point, it was definitely a very long and very difficult journey to get here, and I still don't even know if this is the destination. At some point, I might plateau again, and I might find that instead of making daily 20-minute videos, I might have to shift gears and do 3 videos a week that are a little bit longer and cover topics that are more thoroughly researched. I know at some point soon, I plan on putting out more retrospectives, but like I mentioned before, I got family ties, and it's really difficult to plan around when I'll be able to really put in an effort into a video game. Whatever the case may be, as long as you guys are still enjoying the content, I will continue to put it out there. And honestly, even if you guys don't enjoy it, I think I'll still do this. I have fun doing it. I had fun doing it when I was only getting 20 views a video. I'm still posting Let's Play videos of my cousins and brothers and I playing Mario Party, even though it would be way easier for me to come up here and be like, hey, remember how I said that everything sucks? Well, let's talk about how everything sucks even more. While it may seem like that's the type of content that I'm spitting out, it's usually because of some form of breaking news, or to potentially delve deeper into a previously discussed topic, or just a reflection of what I've seen in the gaming community and how I can relate it to the experiences I had throughout my life. People that hate the way my channel has gone will find this very hard to believe, but I actually don't want to make a hate video for the sake of making a hate video. Ideally, I'd only like to make a hate video when it comes to something that's worthy of hate. It just so happens to be that Nintendo is extremely worthy of hate right now, but that's only going to last for so long. Eventually the Switch 2 is going to come out, and either it's going to do really well or it's going to do very poorly. And if I just keep hating on Nintendo's business practices, eventually I'm just going to look like a crazy person yelling in the middle of a road. But for now, as far as I've been concerned, as well as many of my viewers have been concerned, these talking points are well worth discussing, because I think there's a whole generation of gamers out there that are either coming of age or finally having their eyes awakened to just how disgusting some of these practices are. And as long as every single video I post results in a handful of people reaching out to me and thanking me for giving them some things to think about when it comes to their games, then I'm naturally going to keep doing this, because I would like to help as many people as possible open their eyes towards some of these disgusting corporate practices that occur in every day in our life. Again, it just so happens that Nintendo is taking the brunt of my effort because I am a Nintendo-focused channel. But anyway, we're just kind of falling off here and I'm rambling again. So that was me kind of giving you guys the 411 of how I eventually made it to uploading videos daily, and how it's become part of my regular routine. I hope you enjoy it, and if you have any questions, you can feel free to ask me whatever you like in the comments. I can't promise I will see every comment, but I will try my best. Thank you so much for listening, and I will catch you on the next one.